another video which is political. I don't know whether I'll make it to do a video on Live Saga TV or tomorrow. Any of them will do. If I get time tomorrow, I'll be waking up to do a long video on Live Saga TV as a compensation for the time lost. But anyway, let's just check on what is happening in Tanzania, Uganda, and all that in the political, life. And of course, I had started earlier by referring to the conservation of forests. So we can start with that video before we come up to other matters. All right. Yeah, I want us to start from there before we come to other matters. Yeah, so of course, when you look at Chagulanye, that is Bobi Wine, commonly known as Bobi Wine in Uganda. There is a lot that is happening around Bobi Wine, and I want us to just go into that. Let's look at this, guys.
The crowd had not even chanted a slogan. They were simply standing outside a hotel in Fort Portal, waving at the man they believe represents their hope for political change. But within minutes, heavily armed police trucks rolled in, sirens tearing through the calm afternoon. Officers found out, dispersing unarmed supporters who, according to Bobi Wine and his team, were doing nothing more than waiting to see their candidate. This was not a rally, this was not a protest, this was just presence, and in today's Uganda, presence alone can spark a security response. What happened in the Fort Portal is not an isolated moment. It is part of a pattern that opposition leaders say has defined Uganda's political landscape for years: tight control, aggressive policing, and a security environment that seems to shift dramatically depending on who is speaking, where, and why. In the latest incident, Bobi Wine, one of the most prominent opposition figures in the country, says security forces stormed his temporary residence and scattered people who had simply gathered outside the hotel. He describes it as yet another sign of a regime that deploys disproportionate force when dealing with its challenges.
Of course, guys, welcome once more to our channel, and also like the videos. I don't know. On your end, those who are watching, are you seeing that there is some slugging kind of aspect on my video? I can see that happening. But welcome to our channel, and let's check on Uganda. Of course, Uganda has been one of the countries that has not matured in terms of democracy, and the president of Kenya would really want to copy things from Uganda. Maybe in terms of progress, they're trying to do that. But when it comes to democracy, Uganda is way back, because any things to do with policing is on the high end when it comes to Chagulanye or any other person from the opposition. However, when it comes to the government, when they want to speak, they speak freely and they do what is not right for the citizens. So they kind of inject a lot of extraneous force on citizens, which is unfair actually to the Ugandans. Ugandans, as you currently see, they are supportive of Chagulanye, and we have a percentage that maybe still hold onto the government, possibly because they benefit directly from Hozi or from Museveni himself. But then it is surprising that Uganda has turned into a dictatorial land, just like those other nations we know that practice authoritarian leadership. All that Museveni wants to hear is individuals who are walking and talking in his front, and he says he will be the one to decide who takes over if he's going away, or somebody should go to the forest before he can come down from leadership. Recently we had him in interview, in a hotel in Bale. He said that he is not ready to leave power because he knows the young people like Chagulanye are being sponsored by, other nations to destroy Uganda. He indicated that most companies in Uganda are being supported by Uganda itself, and they belong to Ugandans. They are not foreign companies. So he's simply trying to tell us that even companies owned by Asians still are Ugandan based. That is, let's say the shares within them are actually by Uganda authority. Now, my question was, why is it that Ruto is actually going there talking about the Mabati company, the recent company we saw with is it Devshike or Deshiki, something like that. And yet, for him, he came to Kenya, then sold Safaricom. This becomes very ironical. They sold out shares that belong to the government, 70% of shares, and that becomes very surprising. Kim Pham, welcome. Aldini Ramos, thank you for showing up on the channel. Torix, thank you. We have Dark Light. Then we have Shanuha Shwani. Thank you so much for showing up on the channel. So let's still check on the harassment or policing that was used against Chagulanye, who is Bobby Wine, in the common name that is known all over the world. So whenever he's going to have a kind of talk or rather presentation or rally, all that Museveni has decided as an authority is to stop any conversation or rally taking place. And it's not the first time we are seeing this confrontation with the police, but we have been seeing it consistently. That means that the suppression of any opposition is still happening. Possibly Museveni again might win with 54, or whichever percent, but as long as he wins. Of course, he wants any person from Kenya or any other foreign company from trying, not company, but country, from trying to intervene in the situations of Uganda, indicating that for him, during elections, he doesn't want any intervention from an outside. And that's why he did what he did to Bobi Wine and Nicholas. So let's check into what is happening. And I don't think it's a very fine scenario right there.
While everyday citizens elsewhere struggle with insecurity and crime.
Pass here! Can you pass here? And I'll feel you from there. Pass here. Get a good road. Where can you go? Can you pass? Can you go?
His words were sharp. Quote, one wonders why all this manpower is invested in just one presidential candidate while Ugandans who barely need this security are ignored. To understand why this moment matters, you must understand how opposition politics operates in Uganda. Opposition candidates often face restrictions that range from cancelled venues to blocked convoys, sudden police orders, or forceful crowd dispersals. Those authorities justify our security protocols, but to the opposition, these actions amount to systematic interference.
I even gave you direction. We will have everything. You have to confuse and say stand here. What is the problem? Just inquire. I am aware. Can I inquire? Yes. Allow me to inquire. I ask. Yes. Let me inquire. The shoulders please. Please. I don't know. This is how we do it. Excuse me. How we do that? We had a planning meeting with your team. I have to do that for 3 days. We have made thrice. That's why we have not had any issues on the way. But we are saying, excuse me. You got a wrong.
I think it's that.
From where? I have a
Inafaa irudi immediately ama utumie message.
The problem is keeping diverting the problem. If we agree then that way, let's follow that and we go. Other than keeping around here, roaming around, we will not give it time.
This tension has defined Ugandan election cycles for decades. The state insisting on control and order, the opposition insisting on rights, freedoms, and equal access to voters.
I learned that ChatGPT works best with detailed
Alright
prompts.
guys, do you think Uganda will ever have democracy? Do you believe that the freedom to actually support the candidate people want will be something to be seen in Uganda? How else can they achieve this if Museveni still insists on policing and state capture orders, and of course they listen to it? The worst thing is that Muhosi, his son, is now in charge of the army, and therefore they will listen to him, if not abide by what he says. Unless the army are tired with Museveni and Muhosi, nothing is going to change in Uganda. And maybe external intervention can help, but Museveni and they don't believe in foreigners actually getting into their matters, since all they can do is to destroy Uganda. So he has tried all the way to block the foreigners from trying to invade Uganda, and that is why the state of affairs is as it is. Now let's get to the other video, whereby Larry Madoa is actually intervening Uganda, and I don't know how safe he is, because recently when he intervened in Tanzania matters, and of course he did not step there, we heard a lot of things about him not being allowed to ever go to Tanzania and the reaction from Suluhu. So let's get to it before we now step in Tanzania to check on affairs of the day today, after the yesterday's rat business whereby people are enclosed indoors to avoid the demonstrations on the streets. Who wins here? So let's check on this.
The video hit the internet like a political thunderclap. Larry Madoa unmistakable. Camera slung across his chest, walking alongside Bobby Wine's convoy in Magere. No watermark, no shaky captions, just raw, unfiltered footage. And instantly, one question detonated across East Africa. Larry Madoa just walked straight into Uganda after Museveni allegedly said he must never step foot in the country. Today, we cut through the noise, the decorated videos, the potential paranoia, and the social media hysteria, because the truth is far more interesting than any myth. On December 8, 2025, multiple credible videos emerged of CNN correspondent Larry Madoa embedded within Bobby Wine's campaign trail, the most heavily disrupted political movement in Uganda right now. He wasn't hiding, he wasn't sneaking, he was working. Madoa captured scenes from Magere and parts of Kampala as Wine's national unity platform pushed forward with their 2026 campaign despite near daily interruptions, roadblocks, sudden police deployments, tear gas shells dropped like punctuation marks in the middle of speeches. For Kenyan viewers, this was deja vu. The same Madoa who covered America's political chaos, Kenya's election tensions, and Tanzania's crackdown, now inside Uganda's hottest political moment.
Police officer, what you're doing is illegal. I'm a presidential candidate. I'm supposed to be talking to the people. But why do you shoot bullets at the audience? Other presidential candidates are...
Bobby Wine has been on a nationwide tour since October 2025. His rallies are drawing thousands, often too many for the authorities' comfort. And every stop looks like a contest between enthusiasm and intimidation. Police block roads, military edges, supporters insist on pushing through anyway. Wine is running against a political machine that has held power for nearly 40 years.
So guys, as we see Bobby Wine fighting in his own journey, we have also political journalists like Larry Madoa, among others, who have also to assist in exposing what is happening in a nation. Now, Larry Madoa has been very fundamental in exposing what happens behind our eyes. We saw what happened in Kenya in 2023, 2024, and 2025. most fundamental in sharing essential information involving the police and how they behave. He has not just talked about Kenya, but in the previous 3 weeks, he covered a lot of stories from Tanzania, something that nobody had actually covered fully. Of course, we had been able to collect some news, or rather the events surrounding Tanzania. But when we look at the reports from Mwananyamala and many other places, Larry Madoa did it, and he hit the real eye of the bull. If you have played maybe games like chess and maybe the other game where you throw darts, you understand what I'm talking about. When you hit the bull's eye, then you have really made it. So Larry Madoa has been able to hit the bull's eye by exposing a lot of information that is hidden from the public in different nations. He started with Kenya and went to Tanzania, and now he is in the third East African country, Uganda. And of course, understanding Uganda, Museveni has been against such journalists going there because he kind of understands they sensitize people on the real aspects of the happenings right in Uganda. He also notes that once this information is exposed, anything can happen. He might not be scared about things to do with the loans and all that. But then, how about his relations with the external world? How about maybe if he has investment? Because we understand most of these presidents have investment out there. Much we may say that we are independent as a country, there is still a lot we rely on other developed nations, first world nations. So I might not actually see a way in which Larry Madoa lands in Uganda and we fail to understand the truth. So let's see what he will be revealing behind the camera on the streets. Of course, he was just in the crowd capturing what was happening right there. And now that he was there first and not collecting videos, it's a different scenario from what we saw in Tanzania.
Support is no longer urban hype, but rural reality.
I want to ask you, the people of Kulu, do you have any gain to protect? Africa needs a center of gravity. We don't have a center of gravity now. This is part of the problem. In Europe, we have got some smaller countries like Denmark, like Belgium and so on, Luxembourg. But the whole Western civilization has got a center of gravity in the United States. The United States is the center of gravity of the Western system. What is our center of gravity? It must be created. It must be created. We cannot sit here and remain a perpetual vacuum. I think you use the word vacuum when there is emptiness. Yes. When there is no local power, everybody is coming. You are now worried about Chinese coming here. Why will they come? Because we are weak.
Okay, guys, so when you look into the arguments Museveni holds, he maintains that Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya must relate to form a union that will give themselves a strong foundation in agriculture, business, and mining, and also military. You remember the other day when he was talking about Indian Ocean, he wanted Kenya to actually have an agreement, a mutual agreement, whereby that ocean will become a common military base for East Africa. He also tried to say that they should train common armies so that Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, as well as Rwanda, they are working together on the army. He referred to technology among other areas such as industrialization, and he said that if they work together, the best. Now, of course, we saw our own president from Kenya, RUto, going there to open up a steel company. And he said that they are working hard to do more and have this collaboration so that the many dollars that come from Kenya to other countries will be now channeled to Uganda. They also talked about the presence of a Rwandese president who will be coming to Kenya. I don't know whether he's already to come, so that they talk about other development matters. President RUto promised that he is also going to invite the president of Seychelles and have some engagements. We are yet to see that. And of course, as I talk about our president, you realize that we do not understand why yesterday he had to go to a park and instill the hotels that are going to be constructed. Maybe possibly I should get to that part before we proceed to Tanzania, because Tanzania will be the end of it. But remember, I have no time to talk about Burkina Faso, but be aware that Burkina Faso forced a Nigerian military airplane to land. They indicated if they don't land, they're going to be attacked. And of course, you understand there's a lot of threats going on in Nigeria currently, especially in the northern end, because of the Boko Haram and the other two groups that have been fighting over land, grazing places, among other things such as radicalism in religious matters, and the kidnappings that have been going on with the death of people and all that. And of course, don't forget about Congo, where fires have been running on and creating a lot of mischief for the citizens. So let's go back to Kenya and check on our president. Yesterday, he was almost raced down by the rhino, and he had to really, charge at the rhino and talk about the situation. And that is just when they had released the rhino there. I want us to check on that video before we come back to Winnie talking about the fact that stealing of elections has to stop. I don't know how that is going to happen, but we are waiting to see. So let's check on that rhino charging moment before we can get to Winnie. Rhino charging at President RUto. All right. So I believe this is already something that happened. I'm just doing a critical analysis so that you don't think that I'm really reporting. All I'm doing is a reaction. And you understand the difference between reaction and the real news is that real news we report. In reaction, we give our opinions and also let people react to it. All right? So, of course, this is where the president had just come to the Tsavo National Park. For you who know Tsavo National Park, we have Tsavo East and Tsavo West. And, of course, one of it is just Voi, the dry area of Voi near the town, while the other one is on the way to Taita Taveta, to the Taveta borders of the Tanzania Taveta borders. So yesterday, of course, there was a rhino that was just released in the park. And when it was released, it was almost charging at the team of the president. And they had actually to wail against it. So let's check at this. But it's unfortunate that now the president is allowing the construction of so many hotels in that park, which might affect the passage of wild beasts. You know very well our uniqueness is wild beasts. And once such a process is done, the tracks of animals, because I've ever stayed near Tsavo Park, what happens, elephants have their own routes. Wild beasts have also their own routes. So if you tamper with the area around where animals cross, then you cause a lot of problems. That is why currently, even almost near Mwatate, near Bura, we always see that elephants at some moment, they cause a lot of problems, and even the rhino too, right? Yeah. The buffaloes, not rhinos, they have been really causing a lot of problems to the people there, injuring them, because that is part of their route. And when it comes to those moments when they are moving, they move using that route, whether people have constructed or not, and it becomes a conflict area with human beings. So let's just check on this and see what happened at Tsavo. So that's a rhino that's being released to the park. And when it was being released, it's charged towards the team where the president was, because a rhino doesn't know who is the president and who is the maybe wildlife individual or even tourists.
Why? Sasa mtajuaje? Fungwa katika kama
Look at that rhino coming out, right? Very big. All right, so it charged towards the president's car.
sasa wale wako Did you see her? Mr. President, were you a little concerned? I saw you back up very adroitly. You were moving. You were moving.
So it won't come back.
Bring the excess.
It won't come back.
I don't think it's coming back for more.
It would.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, of course, the rhino was released, and after it almost charged at the president, kept moving to the other end. Now, when the president came up to give a speech, he indicated that he's going to open hotels in this place, and they will be high-end hotels. I don't have time to actually play those videos because my phone is almost calling or demanding for charging. And I just have to get to what Winnie said. Winnie said today that the aspect of rigging is just too much and it has to come to an end. So maybe let's listen to that, and we'll be coming to an end of our video. Just 30 minutes, it's enough for me today. So let's check at this.
In honor of Raila Odinga. The letter I was sent was give a speech kind of about him, but I didn't know the whole thing was about him. So my speech is a bit off. I'm going to try my best. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, political titans, stalwarts of civil society, and a special shout out to the future leaders in the room, the young Kenyans. A very good afternoon to you all. Before Honorable Kiraitu left, I wanted to tell him a story. Honorable Kiraitu actually knew me before I knew him. I was in kindergarten here in Nairobi, and all of a sudden the students stopped calling me Winnie. They started calling me Winnie Odinga. And that thing used to irritate me, because they also used to say it like that. And shortly I found out there was another Winnie in the other class, but we didn't know who this Winnie was. So one day my mother was picking me up, and Kiraitu himself came to pick up his daughter. And my mother said, "Oh, you're Baba Winnie." And he said back, yeah, so you're the Mama Winnie. And that was a very good friend of mine. Her name is Winnie McKenna. Today we gather not just to reflect on the legacy of the late Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, a man who not only dreamt of democracy, but was also brave enough to wake up every morning to fight for it. In honoring Baba, as we fondly called him, we're reminded that he had a rare quality of being both profound but yet approachable. He had that unique ability to challenge a great dictator and charm a drunken cat. I always thought he must have had a hidden career as an acrobat because he would leap effortlessly from an office to dancing in stage in a matter of minutes. On this International Human Rights Day, our theme is all human, all equal. It's a very beautiful sentiment when we shout it from the rooftops. However, I often wonder how many of us truly integrate it into our lives. And let's be honest, sometimes we forget that all humans are indeed equal, especially in this country when it comes to simple things like queuing up for services or prioritizing whose voice matters when it comes to decision making. Our democracy should reflect this ethos, and yet, as we semi-joke about it, we must acknowledge the serious tensions currently simmering beneath the surface of our nation.
All right, guys. Now, the reason why I actually brought into this interaction today, you realize I was talking about democracy and how lame it is in Tanzania, Uganda, and also in other border nations. Now, when Winnie talks about the fact that we keep talking about these things as if they're just statements from a book that we are reading on an evening to entertain ourselves, but not really to practice what is being read. It's unfortunate when you look at the nature of our politics, people can't stand each other. Politicians are throwing each other to the, to under the bus. They don't have time to really support the truth or support unity or even peace, even though they keep referring to peace as something that you can just pick from the trash and put it back to the house. Peace is not easily gathered unless it is intentionally made to be. And when you look at the intolerance levels of how politicians are currently acting, you just don't understand it. Most of them will stand on platforms and talk to people and say, we are standing for peace, this Kenya needs peace, this Kenya needs leaders who are tribeless, this country needs people who are focused towards growth. And when you get to other corridors, you just don't understand the innuendos around what they are doing. Most of them are either eating too much until the owner can notice. Some of them are even, soiling other people just because they want to create a name for themselves. Others are, ready to humiliate even some people who have faces better than theirs because maybe they have got power currently. All they have to do is to ensure maybe their children and families are safeguarded, even to a level that they don't require what they are being provided with, but sacrifice the rest of Kenyans and possibly create policies to, offer that space between what I may say maybe the dead and the living. We often create that space with graves, right? And even in our own lives, what I see is we have graves that are being dug every day and coffins that are being placed inside. And therefore, either as citizens, we are being placed in those coffins and the soil covering our graves, but then we imagine we are still alive and breathing freely. If you get to see what Winnie is saying here, I can simply say with all my audacity, and if you can take it to the bank, you can. That's exactly what's happening. It has reached a level to which when you listen at politicians, you just have to, you have to sometimes give a blind eye or can it be an ear to the insults they throw at each other, the allegations they place on each other. They have ceased to use courts because maybe they believe those courts have been robbed or raped. And all they're currently doing is to come up on platforms and, soil each other so that maybe citizens will decide to support each of them or at different times, depending on what you would wish. And of course, we can see the insanity to a level that if someone is being helped by the government, they'll automatically, worship and kind of seem like bridegrooms who are yet to wed. But once the divorce is yet to be, then the insults start. So I hope you understand that scenario, and that's why we are seeing the dramas all over the place, just to confuse the citizens. And maybe citizens themselves also have accepted to be confused. And so every day you'll wake up at very dramatic scenes, the drama that never ends, and the drama that never gets to actually entertain people in the cinema hall. But anyway, let's continue listening to Winnie Odinga. And if you got me, you got me. If you don't get it, just forget about it, because it is what it is. So let's listen more to Winnie Odinga and what she said, and see into how relevant it is to our current scenario, and even to Uganda, Tanzania, all the
I
same.
call it, we're going through a crisis of generations, where young people are not being allowed to define their future, and older generations seemingly switch the goalposts whenever we get near it. I feel we have a crisis of culture, a crisis of religion, of tradition versus technology, a sort of war in our society. We have a society where men and women still are not quite equal, even when we talk about that. Where a young woman from Bondo can ask a simple question in Mombasa and they say it's disrespect. But a man can ask the same question in not as polite a manner and they say it's leadership. See, the Kenyan youth do not live in Kenya. My mother, she watches the news. We always joke the only thing she watches is the news. I, on the other hand, never watch Kenya news. I'm physically present in Kenya, but I join my colleagues online. These young people are exposed to a world where they are told they are enough, that they are smart enough, they are strong enough, and what they say and think matters. When some of you have an issue with your phone, you always ask a young person around you to fix it. They do it in 1 minute. I'll tell you today, that thing irritates them. Because that's not all they are good for. They can do many things in 1 minute that may take you a bit longer time. So we need to give them a little bit more space. In 2025, we have witnessed the kaleidoscope of events. Youth-led movements demanding accountability. Our regional neighborhood here is not quite like us. There's been public outcry for reforms and a palpable sense of fatigue with governance that feels more like a game of musical chairs than a platform for true participation. But fear not, for the absence of change is where inspiration begins. And that is precisely where Baba thrived. He believed that passion could shake the walls of our political history, challenge the status quo, and remind us that democracy is not just a political system, but a way of life woven into the fabric of our society. Raila Odinga was a man who understood that leadership was derived. He used to say, leadership isn't about a title. It's about showing up every day, fighting for what is right, and lifting others as you climb. And lift he did. From pushing for multi-party democracy to championing the rights of every Kenyan, he stood firm in the belief that every voice counts. Though, that the very people Raila fought for sometimes questioned his methods. Some called him a radical. I prefer to say that he was a dreamer, a visionary who dared to walk where others hesitated because he envisioned a future where no one was left behind. In his memory, we've been tasked with the responsibility not just to dream the future, but to shape it.
All right, guys, so you realize that she was talking about the shaping of the future that was molded long ago by her own father, and maybe the rest of those who are behind. However, it turns out that not many people actually are ready to stand for it. And the reality can be seen in ODM. The confusion that just came about after the fall of Baba is as testimony enough that not many people are ready to taste what he encountered and make things better. They are just satisfied with what is happening. If there is mediocrity, it's okay with them, as long as they are satisfied their stomachs or pockets. And that is how unfortunate it is, even when you look at what we had for the first time from Ruto talking about people having been bribed so that they can impeach or rather pass some laws and all that. It came to us as a surprise. And if this was another nation, maybe citizens would have thrown away so many of them out of leadership, because they are not representing us, are they? They are not. They are just acting like the crow we've heard from the narratives we've always read in books. They were sent to bring back a good message, carcasses, and, be satisfied and maybe lie there, then come back when it's too late and the citizens have suffered. Sonja Warren, welcome, welcome. Shuna Haswan, welcome. Dark Light, welcome. Thank you so much for coming up on my channel. I do remember you, Sonji Warren. Yeah, you've been watching for quite some time. By Shuna Haswan, you seem to be new, so please consider subscribing to the channel. Aldini Ramos, you're also new. Subscribe to the channel. Daken, you are also new. Kim Farm, you are new here. So consider subscribing to the channel. I'll be so appreciative on that as we continue to analyze what Winnie is saying here. And you would be free to also drop your comment in relation to what she says and how you think it relates to the nature of politics in Africa at large, and particularly East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and maybe any other place. I've also had a lot of friends from India, so you can also relate to a situation. I heard somebody talking about the Prime Minister of India and the revolutions, or rather the reformation that was done there. Maybe you can also talk about that. For the Sudanese people, of course, you know what you're going through. You may relate to that. And the friends in Guinea-Bissau and Ethiopia, what about your nations? How does this speech that Winnie is giving relate to your situation right there? Americans, you've also begun to come to my channel and talk about, you're asking me to talk about Trump, so you can also help me cover this. Somebody's calling, but I need to finish the video in 5 minutes first before we communicate. So let me finish the video before I can make a call.
First, the change is absolutely possible, but it comes with a heavy dose of courage, persistence rather, and let's not forget a sprinkle of humor to lighten those heavy moments. The other day I watched a video of him when he was trying to enter the DCI office. And the officer at the gate told him, I think, Meshua, you were there. The officer at the gate told him that he can't enter. And Baba turned it into a soap opera. He first tilted his head, raised his eyebrow and asked, why not? When the officer stood firm, Baba switched gears and started a charming protest demanding access to the public office. That officer did not back down, but neither did Baba. He threatened to rally a crowd to bring down the gate. Three things. He always used to say, procedure first, pressure second, then we take action. Later, as we shared a laugh over the social media storm that followed, he was crying with laughter, saying, you must learn to laugh at yourself. It means you take yourself less seriously. If only we could apply that wisdom at the national governance level in Kenya. In Kenya, institutions work together like a family during a heated dinner. Lots of shouting, some staring, and when all else fails, people storm out to their different rooms. Even the president sometimes admits to us that he feels shackled by the behemoth of bureaucracy. People are often afraid of change. They fight against it. It's like they're protecting that last piece of cake at a birthday party. But sometimes, just a sprinkle of Baba's humor and charm can turn a full-blown war into a friendly game of kati, for example. Let's take that lesson to heart. Let's embrace humor while changing the norms. Secondly, bullets don't bring smiles. We are all human. We are all equal.
I like that part of the statement, bullets don't bring smiles. And I just recalled when Murkomen dropped a bomb of let the police shoot and I'll defend you. Now that was the worst ever statement our own CS of security ever dropped. Because I remember during Matiang's time, the only time that he didn't even say such a statement, but he just said that they will be firm. It's when he was in control of Nakuru. And at that time, there was serious insecurity in Nakuru, even though there are some data surrounding the death of young people. Around 4 of them were who were murdered on one night, and the story still was came up recently from NTV's end. It was not a sweet story to listen to, and we already did an analysis. You can go check on my videos, you'll see that reaction. So I like that statement. It also bites into the president, because after Murkomen said that, the president now came out, and instead of just saying that bullets shouldn't be used, the police can actually see how to restrain the audience, or rather the citizens. Now he came up saying you can shoot in the legs. And of course, memes on has been all over the place. Why should I go back to it? Of course, you know about it, right? So let's get to hear more.
And I really beseech the members of this civil society to bring the two sides of this divided nation together. And the two sides I'm speaking are not political sides. I'm speaking of the two generations. The table that I speak of is not for lip service, but for future planning. Many older generations insist they are building us a house. And the young people are saying, build it, that's fine, but we have some thoughts on the design, because we will be the future occupants of that house. So you don't have to build us a telephone room with a landline, just give us Wi-Fi. We'll be good with that. We want to work together in this. But the same
all right, that was funny again. All right. Build us a house, but let us also be partisan in the design, because we are the occupant of that house for tomorrow. Build us a telephone booth, but then don't build us a telephone booth, but give us a Wi-Fi. We'll be okay with that. We don't need a telephone booth and a landline. Did you get that? I hope the leaders are really getting this, because sometimes you get leaders justifying what they are doing, the kind of development they are doing for the people. But the young people have a lot of questions about the kind of projects the government is actually doing for us. And it's not even the Gen Zs asking these questions. Millennials are asking it, and many other generations, because they don't just understand why an umbrella has to be given when there is a hot sun. Maybe I want to just warm myself under that sun as I'm walking away. All I need is better shoes so that my feet are not burnt. All right? So let's get to finish this as we end the narrative.
When you tell them to go vote, and we're talking people are not registering to vote, because we've shown them that we don't care whether they do or they don't.
All right. Good point.
So we have
good point. Many leaders are actually complaining, young people, you have been asking, demanding, why can't you go register? Do you have ideas? The Gen Zs, you're not being seen on the streets voting. Now, the reality is here. WINNIE has broken it down. She is saying young people don't care to register or see whether the older generation care about their votes. How many times have we seen stolen votes? The stealing of votes in Kenya is like any other business, washing your hands, or any other business that is easy to conduct. So possibly that's what is making the young people not wish to vote, and maybe other times they'll devise, and it might not be a good way. So it's better that WINNIE represents them and speaks this. And I like her way of delivering her message in a funny, interesting way, but that is so intelligent. So let's just get to her point. This is what I was looking for.
Here. And these young people are angry. They're not trying to burn down the house. They just want to be listened to. Some are fighting for inclusion. Some will go to the streets. But the more worrying thing is that most have checked out of the game. They will not participate in a game that is not equal. So we can't have a society like that, where some participate and others couldn't be bothered, or they're too afraid. They'll be abducted, they'll be killed. Even if they vote, it will be stolen. We can't. Different times I hear especially men, they like to say this. They always have an analogy of how Simba, mtoto wa Simba ni Simba, or something, anything to do with an animal, they always say that. You know, and yani, I don't know what, they always have something. But we are not animals. We're human beings in an equal society with equal members, both male, female, and we both have to participate in society. After all, human rights aren't just policies written on nice paper. They are meant to be lived and breathed. So it's time to swap the lip service for some real action. Let's stop tiptoeing around uncomfortable truths and instead tackle them head on. I think you may have seen me this past few weeks not tiptoeing. Through with me. We have to do this armed with wit and grace. Because when we engage in the pursuit of equality with a smile, we not only lighten the load that we carry, but we also invite other people to join the journey with us. After all, who wouldn't want to march towards justice without a sense of humor? Let's make our fight for human rights as infectious as a good laugh. It cannot be bullets, blood, and tears every time. Because if we're going to change this country, and we need to talk, and we might as well do it with a smile. But you guys smile first, you know. Us young guys, we're not for jokes. That smile is just politeness, not that we're joking here, but it's also serious. In conclusion, let us celebrate the life of Raila Amolo Odinga, my father, your father, his laughter, his wisdom, and his unyielding commitment to democracy and human rights. As we move forward, let's channel his spirit, a spirit that reminds us that the future is bright as long as we make it brighter together. Thank you. And may we
All right, guys. So the clear message here was that the young people really want to participate in elections, but they should be free and fair. Where does free, fair elections start? It starts with the government. They are competing in this race. Let it be fair. Let them actually believe that they can win, but somebody else can win too. But when it becomes a matter of death, life and death, as it happened in Bere North and Malava, or even Kisii, it's quite unfortunate, because why should we have bullets? Why should we have the police pretending to be civilians, the PSS ordered to deliver a seat to a certain party? It is not a matter of death and life. And even though the government is currently having it, was it always there? Give a chance to other people if that is what the citizens want. And if you really qualify to have it, just have it in peace. Let's not see the situations as what we saw actually in the by-election. It's so saddening, and it trumps on our integrity as we pretend to really care when we don't. So bye-bye. Let's stay tuned as we go on with political analysis. I just hope to also acquire more tools that will make my videos better and also allow me to do some short videos, various videos. Maybe, for example, today I talked about Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya on matters Tsavo, and Kenya on matters what WINNIE said. So possibly those could be 4 videos if I decide to sit down with my tools, better apps, and make cinematic kind of videos that take even 10 minutes. So I hope for the best as I struggle through this journey. But thank you so much. Currently on this channel, we are having 3,300 subscribers, while on Live Saga TV we have about 400 subscribers. So as we go through this journey, I hope that every time we will focus to improve in what we are doing. Bye bye for now. Have a nice night, have a nice day, and to those who are actually having their other struggles, I hope that God will enhance your success. If you already made it, maybe glorify God, for He is above us and makes it all happen. So have a nice moment till we meet again tomorrow. Bye bye for now.